Welcome back. We continue with our conversation. Fanyamambo Kinuthia and Kevin Osido still here with me. Before we continue, let's just listen in to what the Deputy President and the President said during that national prayer breakfast.
Your Excellency, therefore, as much as we agree with the need for us to reconcile and build relationship with our children, we respectively request our children also to realize that there is a role we can play, not necessarily in terms of science and all the beautiful things they know from the internet, but a few tips here and there that could make their
All right, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President of the country. And of course, we'll be listening to President William Ruto in a bit. But let's talk about that. Respect, because he said, you know what, the young should respect the old. But the young are saying respect is earned. Osido, I'll start with you.
Precisely, respect is earned. And as much as from the traditional cultural growth kind of process that some of us went through, it was expected that you give respect even when it is not earned by anyone. So the training or the orientation was that, for instance, when somebody walks into a room and you are the younger one, you wake up and then you shake their hands properly, then you issue the seat, and depending on where it is. But we must be alive to the kind of changes that have taken place, for instance, within the generational chronological orders, where we are talking about the Gen Zs and who they really are. So the expectation is that you have to be accountable first. Show why I need to stand up from my seat and give you my chair. If you're not disabled, at least show me a reason. And especially if you are someone of authority and with authority, and that with this authority you have not used it to do very well. So you can't be somebody whose face is on our television screens every day for monies that you have stolen, and then you walk into a room and you expect me to show you respect. It is not going to happen that way, number one. Number two, this is happening at a point in time when we are having family issues. So basically the social dynamics are also changing. Young people are going through mental health issues, you know. Kenyans are asking for, the youth of Kenya asking for jobs from a government that keeps promising jobs and is not delivering them. So what kind of respect do you expect us to give you if you cannot really fill the gaps that we feel inside our own our own beings? And then number three, of course, somebody will say, but you see, then show me your parents. Where is your mom? Where is your dad? Some of us come from families of single mother-headed, you know. Some of us have never seen our parents. So you do not throw that respect banner to where we are seated. What this means, therefore, is, particularly to the Deputy President, is that Kenyans are asking for more. Give us more reasons, particularly for accountability, for transparency, and so that we're able to show you how we can be able to respect you. And I'm sure that especially because I engage with an array of Kenyans from different quarters, Kenyans are largely respectful, and they're also very respectable. But up to the point when you are able to show why you should not be respected, they will show you. Look at what happened in June last year, especially 25th. Parliament is an august house. It's a very honorable infrastructure. But the youth of Kenya broke in, you know, because we lost respect. We lost that, we didn't see why we needed to respect Parliament.
Yeah.
You're not passing progressive laws. The laws that you are passing borrowed from the finance bill, for example, are very outrageous. You don't explain them to us. So on what basis is this respect battle going to be thrown? Okay. So it is a call, therefore, in my view, for government to be much more responsive and to begin to look at things, especially from a level where inclusivity, therefore, becomes one of those indicators or one of those principles of government and how it is delivering its services, how it's engaging with its citizens, And especially because they are there for a max of 10 years. If God allows and you're president, 5 years and 5 years, deputy president, 5 years and 5 years, and that's it.
Okay. Fanyamambo, coming to you, let's talk about this apology that we got from the president. It has really rattled some feathers. The opposition is saying, you know what, we don't want sorry. We want you to walk your talk. But also, youth and Kenyans in general feel like it's how the apology came out. To our children, if, you know, it's the if, it's how it came out. Do you think it's sincere, really? Or was it just a spur of the moment? Let me just say it and get it over with.
Leadership does not end with an apology. It actually starts where the apology ends. I want Kenyans to take the analogy of people who take one of their own across a bridge on the other side. It's a wooden bridge. It's the only bridge they use. And then he gets to the other side. And between that side and this side, there are crocodiles. Now that crocodile can be Shah, it can be exams, it can be all that. You know, the river is right there.
The river
and then
between.
And when he gets to the other side, one of the first things he does is he burns the bridge. And then when he burns the bridge, it means that anybody who wants to get to the other side, which means a better life, has to go through crocodiles and to go through a lot of problems if they are going to make it alive to the other side. And then after he's burnt the bridge, he tells you, I am sorry.
If.
He tells you, if I burnt the bridge, I am sorry. Now, if you think about it, he has not returned the bridge. He has not made it possible for people to cross to the other side. There is no plank of wood, there is no hammer, there is no nail, there is no involvement in the reconstruction of the bridge. What this guy is doing is just laughing at you from the other side. Because he knows that which connected you to him is not there. And that which would move these people from where they are to where they would want to be is not there. The second example I would give you about such an apology is about a farmer who is entrusted with a farm and told, you know, plow this land and make us have food. And then the people take a back step and let the farmer do the work. He brings bad seed, he brings bad fertilizer, and he raises a crop that is actually poisonous. And it is not enough, and it is bad. And then upon harvest, he comes and tells people, if I have hurt you, I am sorry. Now, I am sorry will not feed this community until the next season. I am not sorry will not take the fact that their children will go hungry. I am not sorry will not take their animals away from the hunger. So this apology is an apology that does nothing. It's an apology that does not restore. It's an apology that does not give us an opportunity to undo the ills that have happened. Because you can imagine if that's the crop that everybody was depending on and this farmer has given them a bad crop, it means he's put them through hunger for a very long period of time. So when he tells you sorry, it is irresponsible. Sorry does not plant. Responsibility plants, responsibility cultivates, responsibility produces and gives. And that's why I sit here and say that apology is, for the lack of a better word, not useful to Kenyans.
Okay. Osido, coming to you, I mean, you talked about the regional context earlier on, and it seems like this apology is equally a regional bag. It started in Uganda, and then next day, Kenya. I mean, there are those who are terming it an allergy to accountability masked in humility.
Precisely, and that's what it is. You know, this good book says, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to preach.
And you leave it at that.
Yeah, precisely. And so if you look at the regional apologies, one from our good friends in Uganda, and you look at the transitions that some of these countries have had to, rather have gone through, you expect that somebody will have to apologize. And this is because, again, globally, leaders are being held accountable. We have instruments of justice, we have courts like the ICC, and we have people, especially the younger generation right now, called the Gen Z, and part of them millennials like some of us, who are aware about certain atrocities that have been committed against citizens by their leaders, people whom they surrendered their sovereignties to. And so when you know that you're about to retire and that some of these things might follow you, the easiest thing, and some of these countries have a clause in their constitutions where the president is above the law, like you cannot be sued, especially when you are still serving. So you want to cover yourself and hide within an apology. The second thing is that our faiths, the Christian tradition that we have, not just as Kenyans, but in the region, has also not helped us. Because when some of these atrocities are being committed, the people who are closest to the culprits are our religious leaders, who are in collars, and they are covering them, and they are telling them, kneel down, we pray for you, we want to anoint you, and that the Lord has sent you, said, thou shalt not touch the anointed, and all those things. So the orientation around hiding within an apology or a forgiveness, and this Bible that I am reading tells me that there are more than 43 verses from the Old Testament to the New that talk about forgiveness. And they are talking about forgiveness where, for example, it is expected that when you have stolen this cup and you are asking me for forgiveness, bring it back. But if you cannot bring it back, then pay an equal amount of what I used or spent to purchase that cup. That is not what we see happening. And so there are people, institutions like our religious communities, that some of them also play within this ploy to want to cover, people who have committed some of these vices and some of these ills.
Yeah.
Locally, the president is being very smart because Kenya, of course, regardless of how Kenya Kwanza misbehaves locally, it will never take out the space that Kenya holds globally or internationally. That Kenya is bigger than some of these other countries. Of course, some are fast catching up and they're beating us. But fact of the matter is that you were not there when, for example, the UN was being instituted here in Kenya. And that you must do everything to ensure that the UN remains stronger than you found it. So President William Ruto, I am sure, that even as he's talking about apologies and within the regional context, he wants to be very safe within the club of presidents, because it gets to a point where people laugh at you, and you never know what bilateral organizations, multilaterals will do with their diplomatic immunities and etc.
Yeah.
There are embassies that would want to leave Kenya just because the politics is not good for them. So as a president, you must do everything possible to ensure that you are doing the right thing. Remember, we had a president, I think it was from, there was a king and then there was a president from Netherlands, right? And then we had the president of Finland. And they met with young people, and what these young people were saying was that there are certain ills that have been committed, and that we are not happy about them. And in their public statements, they said, Kenya, you must make things right. So President William Ruto, I'm sure, is trying to want to make things right locally, but also dealing with these global regional conflicts that some of these atrocities, especially if you listen to certain politicians like our friends from Tanzania, who are imagining that it is not right for international lawyers to want to go and practice international law in their countries for instances where human rights have been violated, and that is so evil. So I think that as a country, therefore, when the president wakes up to want to make certain apologies, for him, globally speaking, we hold him at that level responsible. But locally here, especially in a context of a prayer, a national prayer breakfast, actually we expect more.
Okay.
So you can stay with your apology. You can actually just say, okay, nimeona yenyewe vitu kwa ground sijawafanyia vizuri, lakini ndani yangu mimi najua chenye nitafanya. So you don't have to tell us, if I wronged you, then I apologize. Just do the right things. Kama kuna vijana walikuwa abducted, and your intelligence guys are telling you, we know where they are in certain kennels, release them. Kama kuna shamba ambayo ilibiwa pahali, and the owners keep printing them on newspapers, and you know where they are, just release them. So that this is Zakayo amepanda juu ya mti anasema, calm down, and whatever you have taken as a tax collector, give it back to the people. Then that apology, you don't have to say it. People will begin to see change of attitude, change of mindsets, change of actions, just in the manner in which you do your things, and people will start saying, anyway, the president has changed. The gentleman is now serious with presidency.
All right, I want us to move away from the National Prayer Breakfast. We've taken actually a whole hour. But let's talk about reconstituting IEBC. And before we do that, I don't know if you're aware that there was a TIFA poll that was conducted between May 2nd and May 6th this year. And it has damning numbers in terms of a majority of Kenyans feel like the country is headed towards the wrong trajectory. Coming to you, and they talked about the issue of the fact that they do not have trust in our electoral processes. Just today, we saw Justice Lawrence Mugambi rule that Parliament can proceed with the vetting of IEBC, but it cannot swear in. Let's talk about that, because at the floor of the House, they were arguing that this is a parliamentary process. But also, Justice Lawrence Mugambi did talk about the doctrine of separation of powers. This will have a ripple effect and likely, perhaps, maybe, I'm not sure, you are the lawyer, you should tell us, perhaps we'll see a delay in the reconstitution of IEBC. What will be the ripple effect of all this, considering just last week the IEBC were in court and they were arguing that if issues like the limitation of boundaries are not done, then the 2027 general election poll is unconstitutional.
I don't know what's going on in the minds of our judiciary. Article 88 of our Constitution is very clear that nobody who had vied in the previous election for the last 5 years qualifies to be an IEBC commissioner. Nobody who is a state officer. Now we are looking at this lady who is at the political parties tribunal, and she's there, she's a state officer. What goes on in the mind of a Kenyan who knows that I vied in the last election, did this guy Ali Hassan Nur somebody, you know you vied. And you waste taxpayers' time and money and media attention to go offer yourself for an interview knowing you vied against Article 88. What goes on in the mind of a state officer, someone occupying a state office until today, a public officer, going to offer themselves for such a seat? I think if I was the justice, I would have said, from where we sit, it appears 3 people. Because there's been a ruling from that court before that the quorum for IEBC is 3. So if I was the justice, I would have said, these 3 who are not in contention, may Parliament proceed. These other 4, wacha kesi yao iendelee. Now we would have had a duly constituted IEBC because 3 people form quorum according to a ruling of the bench. So the 3 would have formed quorum and they would have gone ahead and actually been sworn in.
Okay.
Then these 4 who have a matter, we continue listening. And by the way, the list did not have 7. After number 7, there were many others. So from number 8 going down, why don't we pick those ones and put them up? Because these jobs, it doesn't have to be these 4. And also, when you see, and I like the Standard, thank you, they published a list of those who had actually been processed and interviewed, only for people who were not in that list to come again and appear to do those interviews. My feeling is that this administration does not want to have IEBC.
Okay. Osito, as you chip in, talk about the fact that majority of Kenyans feel like Kenya is headed towards the wrong trajectory. Is it perhaps a wake-up call, not just to the government, but equally to those who are in the broad-based government?
Yeah, of course we know that the country is not headed in the right direction, and that poll probably is just confirming what a majority of Kenyans feel. From probably 2022, the kind of elections that we did, the manifestos that were developed, the conversations that happened. I remember those town hall meetings that both, was it called Azimio and also Kenya Kwanza held, because I participated in drafting some of them and helping people to go and present them. And they were very good ideas that Kenyans generated because they were hopeful. They were looking for something fresh. They were looking for something, something that would change the sufferings of most Kenyans, you know. But it cannot be true that when you say I have been deputy president for 10 years and I know where I am going to fix, because that really was such a hopeful message, you know. Yes, you've been here, alafu umesumbuliwa sana na serikali, your accounts have been blocked or whatever, and then suddenly, God, if God did it, I hope it is right to use if there, if God did it,
Yes.
You assent and you tell us, nikishaweka chini hii Biblia, mutaona how I am going to change this country. Then suddenly, hey, tunasema, but what happened? Those things that we used to say, the hope that we had, what has happened? Kids cannot go to school. Doctors, our Kenyans in the medical practice, the nurses, clinical officers are threatening to strike every single day. Counties, governors are stressed because there is no money, no services are being delivered. Really? So why wouldn't things go the right direction, right?
Okay.
When we even forget about examinations to budget for national examinations in our budget,
right.
And then we treat it as an afterthought and say, hey, yeah, by the way, you guys are right. We just forgot, but now we have put the money. It means that there is no deliberate conversation around the direction that this country is supposed to take. And actually, I don't remember when I last heard the people in power, most of them at that level, talking about Vision 2030. Because is a very clear vision. We only have about 5 years or 3 years to go. What does that mean to us, especially for such a very instrumental document that is supposed to guide the country? So there is no reason why Kenyans should not feel that things are not going in the right direction.
Okay.
Nothing is seemingly working, from housing to healthcare. Look at the problems we are having, to agriculture, to what is it that is working? Pick one thing, like others have done it in Singapore. Rwanda, I hear now, is doing something very magical. Look at what Tanzania has done with their railway. Look at what Uganda is doing in the midst of their apologies and confessions. Why can't we get something right in this country?
In 1 minute, because we're out of time, maybe you can talk about the fact that Kenya is headed in the wrong trajectory. In 1 minute.
It's very easy. Somebody said that there's only one thing working correctly in this country. And they said that thing is the digestive system of a certain politician because it's just becoming big. I think Kenya and the 14% are the ones I worry deeply about. The ones who said that Kenya is heading in the right direction, because we need to see them. When a government brings you agents who tell you that they are going to give you jobs abroad, and those agents make people pay 14,000 for medicals, and then they literally steal from those people, and those people are crying up to date. Wengine hata walikopa, wengine waliomba pesa, and they have not gotten jobs abroad, and nobody has been arrested. When you say that there's abductions of young people, and then you say they have been sent home, I am waiting to see a home that is celebrating that their child has come back home.
Okay.
We are waiting. So there's nothing heading in the right direction, and all we can do is to continue talking about it and to continue praying that Kenya will get to a place where we shall have leaders who mean well for this country.
Okay, that's a really good place to end it, gentlemen. Thank you for your contributions. As always, we do not take it for granted. Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, a lawyer, and Kevin Osido, who is Executive Director at the County Governance Watch. That's how we wrap things up here on KTN Prime. I'm Ashley Mazuri on behalf of Jesse Rogers and Pretty Janet. Have a good night.